I'm Jim Friel, although I have to tell you that when I was a kid, I was Jimmy, but it was Jimmie, and I loved the Musketeers, so I was Jimmy, part of the Musketeers. When I volunteered, when I was in my 50s, the kids wanted to call me by my name or something, and so instead of Mr. Friel, I said, call me Mr. Jim. I came to Hilliard in 2017. I had just lived out a lifelong dream of serving with the United States Peace Corps, which is still around, and they were kind enough to send me to the beautiful country of Thailand, where I worked with youth for 3 years. They took a lawyer and an investment banker and converted him into an English as a second language teacher. But I had 9 female teachers who knew what they were doing, and they just adopted me, and it worked out really, really well. So after 3 years, I can honestly say the 372 students in the village were speaking English and teaching it to their siblings and to their parents. So it was a wonderful adventure, and I would recommend it to anybody at any age, because I got turned down at 17. No college yet, and no work experience. Oh, you have to have that? This is 1962. Peace Corps has been around for 1 year. But you'd make a great volunteer. Please come back. So 70 years of age, hello. And they sent me, and it was wonderful. If you'd asked me in 1958 to 1962, I would have said, I'll never live in Hilliard, because my dad told me from Grandview, which is a suburb here, it's an overnight drive to Hilliard, son. We can't go visit any of our friends. Right after law school, 6 months in Europe traveling around, I went to Europe, and then I decided I'm going to move to California. So I had lived 40 plus years in California. And after Peace Corps, where it was 105 degrees every day, my sister had retired from Washington, D.C., and so she moved to Hilliard, which I thought, why would you buy a house so far out of town? I've come to find that that's not right. But I had a daughter at the University of Alabama, and she convinced me that if I lived here for a couple of years, I could go back and forth and still see my kids in California. So that's what brought me to Hilliard. Funny coincidence, because when I first came here, my first purchase was to buy a pre-owned bike. And I mean pre-owned. I wanted it to look beat up. So if I parked it next to your bike and somebody was going to steal a bike, they'd steal theirs. Not, yours, not mine. But my plan was to ride the bike to Hilliard every day and then go see something. And the first place I came to was here. You had a front porch. And air conditioning was not something we had a lot of in Thailand. And so I sat on the front porch, and I thought, this is pretty cool. And it was August or September or something like that. When I first got here the first year, I couldn't wait to get out of Hilliard. And then a friend of mine said something to the effect, and it may have been you. If your village in Thailand, what if you'd have thought the same way there? And then I thought, well, what do I need to do? What did I do in my village? I got involved. So I was working with kids at Britton Elementary School. I was in the school every day. Mr. Jim was setting up recycling programs, and we were having a great time. And then COVID hit, and no more volunteering in the schools. Well, I'm a person that needs people, and it's wintertime. But I put on my top coat and my wool hat and a scarf, and I came and I sat on your porch. And you didn't know what I was doing. But as you brought the drinks out, or your people brought the drinks out of that door, they put them on a table. People stood out in the street the first month. Then they moved up to the curb, and we had conversations. They were lonely. They were isolated. They were scared. They needed somebody to talk to. I try to meet 2 new people every day. It was perfect. It was made in heaven. And we just talked. And rather, I asked questions than I listened. There was a steady stream of customers coming. But the other thing is, during that COVID period, you actually moved out. You took a risk to move into the center over there. One day you were going to close on Tuesdays. Jim, would you come and sit on my porch and tell people to go over there? And you gave me, I still got them, you gave me a business card that made me Mr. Jim, the coffee ambassador, with a discount if they went across the street. And I sat there for 4 hours and said people over there. And they loved it. And I loved it. And after that, that was the genesis for the same thing the kids called me was it, yeah. In every town in California, in every work environment, there was always a place where you could connect with people you needed to connect with, who you were supposed to connect with. And it wasn't just that you came in to buy coffee, that was just the byproduct. It was the service, it was the smiles, it was the everything. You developed a real loyal following. But the most important thing that I remember, and I see it every day in you and Sharon, is your resilience. No matter what happened, there was a smile on your face and you could bounce back. And that was encouraging to me. I even found myself looking for school districts that were open that might let me drive. So I found one in Perry County. I don't know if people will know where Perry County is, but it's an hour away. And for the first 2 months of volunteering with talented and gifted kids at Thornville Elementary, I drove every morning and every morning back. And then a small church said, why don't you come and live in our parsonage? And so I did that. The most eclectic looking place. All of the members of the church brought stuff. I actually had a VHS tape player with 90 hours of TV, and I could play that every night and have some popcorn. So yeah, there's a point in time, I think, where adults realize that most of the satisfaction they get out of life isn't coming from making a paycheck. And actually, I think the happiest people on earth are people that learn to serve other people. But I looked at that as a period. I still meet 2 new people, but I also wanted to branch out in other things. I actually had the skills to teach English as a second language. So for 4 years, I volunteered with Festa to teach adults, students from all different countries, because they had their kids downstairs that were being tutored and upstairs we were teaching. So for 4 years I did that. I got to know a lot about the international community here in Hilliard and how fantastic it is. I guess I would honestly say that I was more of an influencer. And even if I hadn't been here for a week or 2, people still would, stop and sit. I don't expect at the end of the year that I'm gonna have 300 friends by meeting 2 people every day, but I learned that acquaintances do more for you. And then if you remember, do you remember the pantry fire?
Yes.
That weekend was the 4th of July, and I had helped some candidates with Hilliard City Council. I'm marching in the parade, and people are yelling my name. And people said, "What, are you running for?" No, I'm not running for anything. But then the fire happened, and I ran for an office that oversaw the fire department. If you've ever been around a brotherhood, now my experience with a brotherhood, in San Diego, our church had 14 families that were headed up by Navy SEALs. And sometimes they'd be gone for a week, and sometimes they'd be gone for 2 weeks, and you never know where they went and what they did. Just rock solid in your life, and their kids, and the gentlest people you've ever known. I hate to say it that way. And they don't look like anybody you've ever seen in a movie that played a Navy SEAL. But the fire department, 100 firefighters, $25 million budget. But I wanted to be in the fire department, so when a fire department had a personal problem and walked in and closed the door, I could talk to them. I could talk to them about whatever was going on. That's how I see public office. How do I put you first and me, what do you need? That kind of thing.